Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a brand new episode of Shane's World, the weekly show every Monday where we talk about the 5 best things that I thought were the best things, at least, in the world of pop culture in the last 7 days. We're going to talk about some big things, some Marvel stuff, some Star Wars stuff, and even more. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into the news. Up first, we're going to talk about a little bit of that Vanity Fair Star Wars article that came out last week. There was some cool stuff in there, but the thing I really wanted to touch on is that Jon Watts, the director of the latest Spider-Man trilogy, the one that just left Fantastic Four because he wanted to take a break from superhero fare, seems like he's jumping into the galaxy far, far away to develop a Star Wars show for Disney Plus set after Return of the Jedi that is said to have that 80s Amblin feel. We're talking about the Jurassic Park franchise here on the channel lately. That's Amblin, the cool 80s, 90s adventure films that apparently this series is going to feel like. I think this series definitely gets me excited because I love Jon Watts' Spider-Man trilogy, and Cop Car is a really underrated film. I kind of was expecting him to go do something small and then jump back in and maybe do a Spider-Man or maybe even New Avengers, but this is interesting that he left one Disney project to jump overboard to the next team to do a Star Wars project that's possibly even bigger of an undertaking, with it being a series. Now, when this series will come out, I don't know, definitely not this year, of course. Maybe late next year, but it'll probably be the year after that. So he might even have time to squeeze in a small indie film. I can't wait to see what kind of tie-ins we get in this series. I hope we don't see Luke. I hope it's its own thing and its own side of the universe. Maybe we see maybe it's about those people that, the former stormtrooper kids that they run into in Rise of Skywalker. Maybe it's about their upbringing and they run away from the First Order to do some hijinks and shenanigans on the road. I don't know what the series is, really. No one really does except Jon Watts and Kathleen Kennedy over there. Curious to see, because it is in the same time period, if it'll tie into what they're doing with Mandalorian, Ahsoka, in the kind of Jon Favreau verse that we got going over on Disney Plus. But nonetheless, this gets me pumped. I can't wait. This and the Acolyte and Ahsoka are all coming from Star Wars, and I can't wait to see all 3 of them. Now, jumping into another Disney Plus show, She-Hulk dropped its first trailer and revealed that it's dropping August 17th, and it kind of felt like they kind of pushed this out before they wanted to because the release date got leaked, the August 17th got leaked, so it kind of feels like they put out this trailer before they really wanted to, and you can kind of continue that speculation because some of the She-Hulk CGI doesn't look the greatest. It looks a little wonky in spots, a little PS3 graphics-wise in spots, but the trailer itself, not the CGI, the trailer, the story, the jokes, the characters, I personally dug it a lot. It reminded me a lot of the She-Hulk comics. I think Tatiana Maslany's gonna crush. She was great, of course, in Orphan Black, won multiple Emmys for that show. Her and Mark Ruffalo's dynamic as, teacher-student looks like it's going to be a blast. I'm curious if that all happens in one episode or if she has to keep going back to get more and more training from him. I'm curious to see if we get to see, because in Avengers Disassembled where she gets really hulked out, I wonder if we'll see that possibly in the end fight. It looks like they're setting up the Thunderbolts because it definitely looks like that base is the Cube, at least a version of the Cube. We see Abomination, who's been heavily rumored to be in the Thunderbolts. Wong's coming. We didn't see him in the trailer, but we do see that he's coming. The Hulk, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is going to pop up in this. I think this and Miss Marvel are 2, maybe not shows with the highest of stakes, but 2 really fun shows to just watch, for 45 minutes a week in the summer. I think they're going to be fun shows. Highest of stakes, I don't know. Look at Moon Knight. I thought it was really good, but didn't really have the highest of stakes, and I think these shows are probably going to be similar instead of the huge stakes like WandaVision and Loki had. I think those shows are going to kind of be more in that tone. I see a lot of people complaining that we're getting 2 back-to-back female-fronted shows, and you know what I gotta say to those people? Shut your filthy dick flappers, alright? These women look great. Both Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, probably going to be a super fun series. If you don't like them, don't watch them and shut your shit lips, alright? How about that? That's my spicy hot take on this week's Shane's World. On to the next piece of news. And another Marvel story, this one's huge, and I don't think anyone really saw it coming, is that Marvel has signed a deal to use Stan Lee's likeness in movies and television. Not allowed in video games. That's that's a part of the deal, not allowed in video games. So he's not going to pop up in, Marvel's Spider-Man PS5. He's not going to pop up in the Wolverine game. He's not going to show up in that stuff. But he could, if they wanted to, CGI recreate his likeness and put him in, Spider-Verse 2, in all the other Marvel movies coming down the pipeline, Deadpool 3, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Shang-Chi, all these things. He could show up now in the TV shows. He can show up. And a lot of people don't think they're going to do that. I don't know why else they would sign this deal. So I do think they're going to do that, and I'm curious to see how soon it starts. Like, does it start like as soon as Thor 4, or do they want to take a while and perfect the look so it doesn't look weird and jarring when he pops up, and maybe hold off till like next year when, I don't know what comes out next year, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Maybe he can show up talking to the Watcher again, and this time it can be voiced by Jeffrey Wright. I think they need to make sure it looks right, because if it shows up for the first time and it's jarring and looks weird like Tarkin did in Rogue One, it's going to throw people off and people aren't going to want to see it again. But if they can do it right and make some funny, memorable cameos with this deal, I think it's a great idea. I think the deal's for like 20 years or something, so like that's going to, the MCU might still be around in 20 years. I hope it is, because I hope it just keeps going. And then the last film comes out like the day before I die when I'm 101, because I want to live to the year 2100. But I think this Stan Lee deal is intriguing, could be great, but I don't think they're going to screw up. I really don't. I have faith in Marvel, so I'm looking forward to see what they do with this deal. That's right, you guessed it. Another Marvel story. Daredevil is apparently heavily rumored and is coming back to Disney+. They have not the best writers, a little bit of a shady writing team, not the best track record, the two guys they hired for the writing team. But Matt Murdock's coming back, Charlie Cox is coming back for this Disney Plus series, and I think, that's a big reason they introduced this parental guidance guidelines on Disney Plus with Moon Knight, and I think Daredevil might even take it a little bit farther into the violence and the blood and the crazy, the language. I think it's going to get pretty nuts. This is where we could really start diving into Midnight Suns. We got Doctor Strange, Blade's out there somewhere, Moon Knight's out there somewhere, Ghost Rider's probably out there somewhere, like Punisher could come through this Daredevil show. Do we get John Bernthal coming back? I want to know, are we going to see like Foggy come back? Are we going to see Elektra come back? Are we going to see these other characters from the Netflix show come back? How does She-Hulk and Echo set the show up? Because I think for sure Charlie Cox is going to be in both of those shows, and Kingpin's probably going to be in Echo, you'd have to assume. So how does that all shape the Daredevil show? When does this show come out? Does it come out next fall? God, I hope so, but I don't want them to rush it, because if it comes out and it stinks or is even like divided, that'll suck, because Daredevil on Netflix is one of, if not the best comic book live action show of all time. Above Arrow, above The Flash for sure. Above WandaVision, Moon Knight. Like, it's top freaking tier. And if they come out with a fourth season, a reboot season, and it stinks, then it's going to be kind of a disappointment. But I'm stoked. I can't wait to see more of Charlie Cox Daredevil. I can't wait to see how he interacts with the rest of the MCU. I can't wait to see what this, do we see Luke Cage or Jessica Jones or a properly recast Iron Fist come back? I can't wait to see what this means for the future of the Netflix stuff coming over. I think this is a big, big deal, and I think it's going to have repercussions for the next couple years in the MCU. Don't worry, this last story we're going to talk about is not a Marvel story, it's not a DC story, not even a Star Wars story. This story is actually an Ocean's story, which I was not expecting to talk about. They have announced that they are working on an Ocean's 11 prequel film starring Margot Robbie, and it's going to be set in the 1970s. And hearing that, I was like, I really like that Ocean's trilogy with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, and the whole gang. Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock and Rihanna and Awkwafina, I think, was in it, and all those gals. It was fine, but it didn't really work for me the way those films did. So when I first read this announcement, I was like, Margot Robbie's fantastic. I love her in everything she's been in, even Focus, which is a really underrated movie. But I was like, do we really need to see more Oceans outside of that core group? But then I saw a theory online that this is taking place during the 70s, just like the original Ocean's 11 that came out in the 70s does. So there's a theory going around that George Clooney's character is actually Danny Ocean Jr., Margot Robbie's going to play his mom, and Sandra Bullock's character's mom, of course. And the Danny Ocean in the original Ocean's 11 is the father. We're going to somehow recast him probably, or CGI him into this film for a scene, and it's going to become one big Ocean shared universe. that I'm into. That's cool. I'm into that. I'm curious to see what hijinks and what kind of heist they can pull off in the 70s, and who else they cast, because the Oceans films, even though I didn't love Oceans 8, it still had an awesome ensemble cast. So I'm curious to see who they build around Margot Robbie. Like, her Barbie movie coming out next year has an incredible cast. Issa Rae, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu. Like, who are they going to cast to build out Margot Robbie's fellow thieves and heistmen? I can't wait to see that, and that theory, if that comes true, it gets me very excited for this film. But outside of that, I feel like I'm going to have to see the rest of the cast, maybe a trailer, to really get excited for this, because love the original Oceans, but Oceans 8 kind of let me down. So I'm back and forth on this Oceans movie, but what do you guys think? That's what is important. Are you excited for an Oceans movie? Are you into that possible theory? Are you into all these other news stories I talked about this week? Make sure you let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing out towards 200 subscribers. Make sure you come right back here. Either we might drop it tomorrow. If you're good, we'll drop it tomorrow. I do have a review of The Lost World Jurassic Park coming, so make sure you check that out in the coming days as well. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys right here next time.